Look, and herein lies the issue. There's so many cute little sets like this with cycle shorts and tops, but all the tops are cropped. This is a pair of 2T, look, 2T girl shorts. Almost less than the boy shorts.
Tell me why girl clothes is like super short. Like, why do little girls have to wear tiny shorts? Like, look at this. These shorts, like, clearly are like booty shorts. Like, someone's butt is gonna be hanging out. Like, I hate shopping for my daughter.
Recently just at Zara, and I was in the little girl section, and literally I could not find a single tank top that wasn't microscopic or a crop top.
There has been a trend of people finding inappropriate and weirdly small clothing items for little girls. Small as in it's simply shrinking in size, but also small as in purposely small, like stylistically cropped. And as most things, people will try to say that this problem only exists on the internet. This is simply internet drama. Just go outside, touch some grass, and you'll see that the clothes are perfectly fine. There are plenty of clothes that are appropriate and long enough. These are just small instances. And you wouldn't be completely wrong, because the internet has a tendency to exaggerate certain issues, and there are still plenty of clothes that are perfectly fine and appropriate for little girls. Just because it doesn't equate to the entire population doesn't mean it's not happening, because this is one of the few times where I actually experienced this phenomena in real life. Last year, while hunting for some clothes for my 6-year-old sister, I myself found some strange finds in the little girls section, such as mini skirts and mini shorts, and even regular casual t-shirts I've been noticing is just getting small and tighter. And not just shrinking with the little girls' clothing, but they're also doing it with grown women's clothing as well. Finding shirts that are meant to be an XXXL, and yet it just barely fits me. This is an issue that is actively happening and we're all seeing happen. So I'm going to be addressing some of these issues, showing a bunch of examples that I found, as well as talking about the practical flaws in the designs of these clothings as well. But first, some of you are probably watching this and doing a double take at the title there. You're probably having a little bit of a deja vu moment. And let me reassure you, no, you have not lost your mind. Not yet anyways. I have talked about this issue in a previous video before, but I ended up taking it down. Like I said, not the first time I privated a video because I didn't like it. So I do briefly want to explain myself on why I didn't like it and my reflections on it so that all of you who have seen it can get caught up to speed. But if you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about and you don't care to hear my long explanation, that's fine. I'll put a timestamp up on the screen so you can know where to go so I can just get into the nonsense. But yeah, I just very briefly want to explain the flaws that I feel like I had when it came to making that video. There's two main reasons why I didn't like the way that it came out. One, I didn't even really talk about the issue that I was supposed to be talking about. After rewatching the video and looking after it, well after I posted it, I noticed that I went on a bunch of tangents. I talked about things like the dangers of having little girls, dressed as mini adults, the way it'll attract predators and how irresponsible that is, in both real life and on the internet. And of course, while I still think this is a really good point, I ended up taking a lot of time and doing a lot of research on this and presenting it, so that I could support what I'm talking about. I didn't realize a lot of that research didn't really even pertain to little girls. It was more so about adults. So it wasn't even really relevant to the conversation or relevant to helping the kids in the first place. I also went on a tangent criticizing feminism, talking about things like what empowerment and liberation means for certain women, and that it all doesn't mean the same thing, that you don't have to, dress in a specific way in order to represent yourself as being a feminist or being liberated or whatever, and that misconception could be contributing to these smaller clothes that we're seeing. Again, still like an important conversation to have, still valid points, I feel like, but not relevant to little girls, because at the end of the day, they're really not the ones choosing these outfits. It's most of the time the parents. The way I was talking about it was as if these little girls even understood the concept of what feminism was. Basically, I realized that the majority of the conversation were about things adjacent to the problem, but I wasn't fully focusing on it like I was supposed to. The video, if I'm not mistaken, was like 40 minutes long, but it was only like 5 or 10 minutes that was actually dedicated to the problem. And like I said, I still think what I talked about was important, but those could be addressed as separate issues, like for separate videos. And then the second reason why I didn't like it all that much. So after I posted it, I'm going through comments, reading the comments, try to get through as many as I can, because that's what I normally do. And I'm seeing comments from people who are like, I'm 10 years old and I seen this problem happening too. I'm 11 years old and I can't find anything that's not cropped. I'm like 12 years old and I'm like, well, I don't know if you should really be watching this video. I don't want to be some 10-year-old girl's first impression and exposure to these very complex topics. Like, you got all these little girls watching the video and absorbing everything that I'm saying without truly being able to grasp the concepts and things for themselves. I don't want them blindly nodding along to everything that I say. And it's like, of course, it's not my fault that they watched the video and gravitated to the video, but it's one of those things, like, as a responsibility of a creator, I have to at least be aware of the type of audience it will bring, of course. And naturally, if I'm talking about a problem that pertains to like 10-year-old girls and younger girls, of course they're gonna gravitate to the video and want to watch it. Because like I said, like the stuff that I was talking about it's a bit more complicated, and I don't want them watching it and taking what I say the wrong way and being like, yeah, feminism is stupid and wearing, crop tops is dumb. It's like, wait a minute, that's not what I meant. Anyways, long story short, I apologize. The video, in my opinion, after watching it, after a while of it being up, was very sloppy and very messy. And I kind of like missed the point of everything that I intended to talk about in the first place. I also think I did that with no script, which was clearly a bad idea. So my thoughts were very disorganized. I didn't articulate myself properly. And I believe that was also like the earlier stages of my channel. So I was continuing to find my style kind of at that time. And I think I got influenced by a lot of other YouTubers that I watched. It was very theoretical based on what ifs and this could possibly this and this could possibly that, rather than focusing on the objective fact or the practical matters, which is what I want to get more into in this video. But the funniest and ironic thing about it is, as self-critical as I am about the video, you guys seem to really love it. It was, to date, the best performing video I've ever had. It reached almost 500,000 views, which makes me even more upset because it's like, if I just did it right the first time, I wouldn't feel like I had to redo it. It's just, I don't know. I have a very guilty conscience. I get guilty pretty easily, and it felt wrong profiting so much off of something that I feel like I didn't even do correctly, especially because so many of you were very passionate about this topic. That's why it got so big in the first place. There were so many of you talking about it in the comments, expressing your personal experiences, not only with little girls' clothing, but just your own clothing. So it's clearly a huge problem that people are passionate about, and I'm passionate about it as well. But I think it got so big because you guys were just happy to see anybody finally talking about it, and you kind of just accepted the bare minimum. So this time, I want to try again. I want to be more specific, stay on topic, and more practical with what I'm saying, and I want to do it better. So little girls' clothing have been shrinking down in size to the point where parents have to buy bigger sizes just to accommodate their height. Just basic normal clothes like tank tops or shorts are significantly smaller in the girls' sizes than the boys' sizes, even though they're for the same age range. And again, trying to speak practically about this issue, there's really no logical reasoning behind this. Little girls and little boys' bodies are very similar, especially the younger they are. Of course, they have different fat levels and stuff like that, but overall, there really isn't that huge of a difference between their body physique. So they could easily get away with wearing each other's clothing and it would fit fine on both. So it's not like they're accommodating for their size and making, the shorts and tank tops proportionate to their body sizes. They're just choosing to make it smaller for the girls. This most likely because they know they can get away with it, because girls in general tend to wear smaller clothing, not so much for practicality, but for stylistic choices. So obviously it's cheaper to use less fabric to make smaller clothing. And this is something companies do with women's clothing in general. But now it's trickling down to the kids, because you have mini skirts and mini shorts and crop tops for like 5-year-olds. And also a lot of slits and cuts in strategic areas of the clothing. A lot of that happening with little girls' bathing suits as well. Also, speaking of swimsuits, bra and bikini swimsuits for little girls was something that I never really put too much thought into when I was younger, until you do start to think about it a little more, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. We'll get to the why in a second, but even if you wanted to get your child a one-piece, or like a 2-piece, just a shirt and like some swim shorts or whatever, even then there's random cuts and slits to show certain parts of skin off, a lot like they do with the adult swimsuits. You can try to argue it all you'd like, but let's be realistic here. These aren't made for practicality and comfort. They are made to be trendy and cute and reflect what grown women are wearing. And it's strange. It really doesn't make sense for little girls and young girls to be wearing bra tops and booty shorts as an outfit, because when you really think about it, these clothing items were meant to accentuate certain parts of your body. That's the reason you wear them. Women wear skin tight dresses to show off the curves of their body, right? You often hear women say that it needs to snatch the waist. If a dress or a shirt or whatever doesn't do that and like cinch them so they look, shows off their curves, then they may not like it as much. Deep V-cut and short tops are meant to accentuate the breasts, to show them off, to make them appear bigger. Women often wear these things in order to feel sexy and to feel good because they like the way it presents their body. Hence the reason you wear particular outfits like that in particular situations, like going out to a club or a date. The point is, you have an understanding of why you do it, And that's fine. A lot of women, I feel like a lot of times make it defensive when people, try to point out the fact that, hey, you're doing this to accentuate certain parts of your body, to put emphasis on it, to show it off. And they'll get defensive as if that's a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with wanting to do that. It's not a crime to show off what you're proud of. If you want to show off your butt that you work so hard for in the gym, then go ahead, wear, tight leggings or a tight dress to show it off. There's nothing wrong with that. But then when you relate all of this to a child, that's when it starts to get weird, because little girls don't have curves or boobs. So it kind of seems weird that these clothing items that were made to emphasize those parts are being put on little girls who don't even have it yet. It's literally pointless to the creation of the clothing. And for anyone who tries to pull if you find a problem with it, then you're the problem. You're the one sexualizing her. Look, all right, enough with the mental gymnastics, enough with the pulling out the Uno reverse card. The gaslighting and manipulation is not working anymore, okay? Women are not falling for it anymore. What I don't understand is with things like beauty pageants, right? I've been talking about them quite a lot recently. With beauty pageants, we all look at that and go, yeah, that's not right. Putting, fake boobs on a little girl, having her in booty shorts and catwalking for a bunch of adults, yeah, that's really weird. We all collectively understand that. But when moms do it for their toddlers and have them walk outside literally in the same exact way, somehow that's different. I don't understand. Yes, nudity isn't inherently sexual. We're all born naked, obviously. But the perceived nature of the way that is presented is what we're talking about here. And once again, many of you are aware of this fact because of the clothing items that you choose to wear at certain times to feel good, to feel hot, to feel sexy. It doesn't make sense to put it on a little girl who hasn't developed into that body yet. It's almost like you're trying to force her into it. And what's really funny is how you really don't see much of this in the little boys section. Men have sexy, sensual clothing too. It's funny how you don't see booty shorts or mesh sheer clothing in the men's section, the little boys section. And just for the record, I'm not trying to say that little boys may not have any type of inappropriate clothing at all, because it seems that sometimes while little girls' clothing tends to sexualize little girls with, the clothing itself, for little boys, their clothes seem to sexualize them with words. I was watching a video by the YouTuber Love Hilal. I think that's how you say his name. I apologize if that's not how you say your name. I just found him recently, actually, and he made an entire video of the over-sexualization of minors. And in the very beginning of the video, he starts showing off a weird and concerning compilation of shirts supposedly made for children with weird and inappropriate stuff written on it. And a lot of these clothing garments were made for little boys, with shirts saying things like "MILFs I have arrived," "drink bottles and date models," and one that really got under my skin, "impressive, isn't it?" And there's an arrow pointing to his private parts. This is a child that we're talking about. Already talking about the size of a little boy's private parts. This is supposed to be like for little babies, and you're already talking about the size of his private parts. That is disgusting. So I myself have never seen clothes like this because I'm not really in the little boys section all that much. But just because of this, I want to go into stores and scour the little boys section and see if I can find any atrocities like this. And if I do, best believe I am making a sequel to this video. But long story short, it doesn't make sense to put little girls in these outfits when they don't have the bodies made for it. If it really was supposed to be for practical reasons, like the sun is too hot, we just want to keep them cool, there are age appropriate ways to help them stay comfortable and keep cool without having them wear basically underwear outside. There are several clothing garments that I have for my younger sister that is an appropriate length, but also keeps her cool just fine. And speaking of the sun, that's another point I want to get at. With these clothes being so dang small, how are they going to get any protection from the sun's rays? So there was another YouTuber who actually reacted and piggybacked off of the first video that I made talking about this, named Sober Bob. And she talked a lot about her personal experiences and perspective on the topic that I was talking about, and brought up some really great points, had a really great conversation. I recommend that you watch it. But towards the end of the video, she made a pretty good point about the clothing that these little, kids are wearing, these little girls are wearing, and protection from the sun, and just protection of the child's body in general. The sun is hot, like really hot, if you didn't know, especially in the summer. And summertime is normally when these parents, specifically mothers, are dressing their kids in tube tops and booty shorts. A child's skin is incredibly sensitive compared to adults. Damage from the sun's rays and its heat are very likely to happen, and having so much skin unnecessarily exposed put them more at risk of this. And a few of you might try to get smart and be like, okay, well, that's why we have sunscreen. First of all, sunscreen is not the final boss battle of UV rays, okay? It does not completely block them. You're supposed to pair sunscreen with other methods of UV ray protection, which a lot of sunscreens will say on the back of them you're supposed to wear with long clothing, big hats, sunglasses. And 2, you're supposed to reapply sunscreen like every 2 hours or so. Let's be real here. How many parents do you think is actually doing that? It helps if you just put them in clothing that assist with blocking the sun. I'm not saying have them swaddled in a whole coat, but the more covered up skin, the better. If you can cover up as much skin as possible without giving the kid a heat stroke, that's good. Another good point that Sober Bob made was actually protection from things like scratches and bruises.
All these young children do need protection for their actual skin, for their actual bodies. You know, if a young girl is riding her bike really fast down the road and she's wearing a mini skirt, that's just, she comes off, just skin grafts everywhere.
Kids are always hurting themselves. Always. If you have any younger siblings, any children yourself, you know this. They are somehow getting in the most ridiculous of situations. Once again, the more skin they have covered, the less likely it is to bruise up certain parts of their body. The less likely they are to scrape themselves up after throwing themselves off a ledge, because that's just what kids do. If your daughter is wearing a regular short sleeve top with some around knee length shorts, a trip and fall will still bruise her up, of course, with not as much as, say, I don't know, her in booty shorts and a bra top. Suddenly, her entire stomach will be scratched up, some of her chest, her upper thigh. It just makes more sense to have them in clothing that will protect them from the sun and also just from the inevitable mishaps of being a kid. Because kids are lunatics, okay? They're wild and they're crazy and they do crazy stuff. Which brings me to my next point. Kids are wild lunatics who do crazy stuff. As I said before, they love to jump around and spin around and play on things and hurt themselves. They have a lot of energy, and that's good. That's healthy for a child. But the problem is they can't properly release all that energy that they have if their clothes are physically restricting them from doing so. I was scrolling on Pinterest a while back, and I ended up seeing this video of this little girl in this very, very skin tight dress. Look at the way that she's walking in this video. She's practically waddling in that thing. It's so tight that she can barely walk properly. And again, might I add, she's wearing this very skin tight dress that is the equivalent to what grown women would wear on, say, a night out or at a club or something like that, that is meant to hug their curves in their body. She's like 5. She doesn't have curves. This thing is just wrapping her up like a sausage casing. But back to playing around, she can't play in that either. Well, she's not going to the park in that outfit, clearly. It's clearly meant supposed to be fashionable. Okay, I'm sorry, Patricia, then where is she going? Walmart? As if that's any better? Kids like to play just in general. I'm not talking about taking them to the park and having them wear that. Kids just like to play all around, everywhere they are. Say she was wearing this to her friend's birthday party, right? Her 6-year-old bestie's birthday party. She wouldn't be able to comfortably play around and goof around with her friends. Or even if you were taking her somewhere like to the movies. Again, kids have a lot of energy. They're going to be moving around in the seats, playing around, walking around and doing stuff. It's going to be very uncomfortable for her to be in that. There's no place where it would make sense for her to wear this that would be comfortable for her. And the restriction would not only physically stop them from being able to play around, but as they continue to do this, they will get the idea that they have to sacrifice their comfort and their fun for beauty. Which you can still look cute wearing loose-fitted and comfortable clothing, first of all. But she's going to learn at a young age that, oh, I can't hop around in puddles or I can't dance around on the aisles of Walmart because I have to look pretty, because I have to keep up with my presentation. And that's just not fair to them. Again, it's not natural for a child to do that. They're meant to play and have a lot of energy and burn that energy. They can't fully consent to the fact that they may not want to do this. We as adults can, but they can't. Me as an adult, there are heels that I have that are super uncomfortable, but sometimes I will wear them if I know I'm going to be sitting for a long time. Okay, right? The whole thing, beauty is pain. As older women, we can consent to that. We understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. Okay, that's cool. But a little kid who is constantly going to be wanting to play and do everything, it's not fair that they should be restricted from just being a kid because they're too worried about their appearance. And you know what this conversation reminds me of? A Bluey episode I watched at one point. Now I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really understand the infatuation with Bluey for the longest time. I thought it was another one of those things where you guys were just blowing things up for no reason. But my little sister ended up getting hooked on it. And I can definitely see why they love it so much. It's nice to see a healthy familial relationship for a change. But I was sitting down watching an episode with her one day. I forget which one it was. But one of the little girl dogs wanted to play with Bluey and Bingo, the 2 main characters of the show. And she goes to ask her mom, like, Mom, can I play with them? She's like, well, no, don't get yourself dirty because, you know, you just cleaned your fur and it has to look pretty. And so just make sure you don't get dirty. So all 3 of them are trying to come up with ways that she can play with them and have fun without messing up her appearance. So it gets to the point where it's just not working. She gives up and gets discouraged because it's like, whatever, you know, I have to keep myself pretty. I have to keep myself clean. I just won't play. And towards the end of the episode, the mother ends up shaving her fur clean and does the same with the little girl. So now she doesn't have to worry about keeping up with her appearance and she can go play with her friends like she needs to do. I'm not saying you gotta go bald, ladies. I'm not saying you gotta shave your heads for your children, but it is a great way to showcase to children, especially little girls, that they should prioritize being childlike and playing around and having fun over their appearance. They shouldn't allow their obsession with their looks and their beauty restrict them from being kids and having fun. As you get older, sure, you can make that decision for yourself, but no child should have to not play with their friends because she's stuck in this cheap, tight, glorified plastic bag of a dress or wearing shoes that she can barely walk in. Literally for the rest of your life, you can choose to do that. It's just like I said before, why are we trying to rush these kids? Like, you are literally a kid for the shortest period of your life. The rest of your life, you are an adult. You can do all of that stuff later. They literally have years to wear crop tops, to wear party dresses. Why are we trying to make them start at 5 years old? They need to wear something comfortable so they can stay active and play. And once again, the clothes can be comfortable and loose fitted and still be cute. There are so many cute things that, I bought for my little sister and my mom bought for her as well that are age appropriate and still really cute and really unique designs. I couldn't imagine having her in a super tight dress so she can't run around and play. I mean, every time we go out somewhere, they're always like, hey, can I run to the truck? Can I run to the truck? They want to just play and be kids, and we should let them do that. And of course, this is a case of supply and demand, just like everything is. So parents, mothers specifically, we shouldn't be spending money on these clothings that don't even work in favor of the child. The more that you reject those types of clothings, the more they realize they're going to be losing on money if they keep trying to make it. And again, of course, I'm not saying that this is just a plague and it's completely destroying all clothes in the little girls section. There are plenty of appropriate size little girls clothing that you can find. There are also brands that still do things appropriately. Children's Place is a great one. There are so many other brands, so many other companies that do it right. Of course, I'm not saying that this is just taking over stores entirely and you can't find anything. No one's trying to say that. But just because it didn't take over yet doesn't mean we should allow it to. The more we feed into it, the more that they're going to get comfortable doing this. And it's really going to get difficult to just find a regular shirt for a little girl. We don't need that happening, okay? Just let them be kids. Let them wear their little strawberry shortcake shirts. Give them some regular, comfortable clothing to wear, okay? They can dress like a 20-year-old when they're 20. And with that said, that is all I want to talk about today. Feel free to leave all your testimonies and your personal experiences down in the comments. And also for grown women who have also been seeing the shrinking of clothing in grown women's clothing as well, go ahead and leave your testimonies down in the comments as well, because I would like to do an investigation on grown women's clothing. Wait, but I have to investigate men's clothing first. Oh my goodness, I just realized I'm behind on that. Okay, I'm sorry guys, it's just me. I'm the only one doing all this, okay? It takes time. I'll get to it eventually, but that's all for today. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.